Unitarian Universalist, walking through the door just gives my heart a lift. People ask, what kind of church is this? Unitarian Universalist. Who knows what? I can't walk or talk the list. A Unitarian Universalist. I hold the never-ending question on the hardest beat insists. I'm a Unitarian Universalist. Even though what you say might not be what I know, we sit all together. Every Sunday we go searching through our lives for the mystery of loving, sifting through the times like an old-fashioned coven. I know this is my church, eternal talking about. These are all my people, our voices singing and shout. Unitarian Universalists, standing all together, we offer the world a gift. The all-important question of eternal compassion. See the morning star rising on the living tradition of Unitarian Universalism. Unitarian Universalist, walking through the door just gives my heart a lift. People ask, what kind of church is this? Unitarian Universalist.
Welcome to the beloved community known as the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I didn't know I was going to do an opera today, but that just sounds like fun. I'm Reverend Michelle Buhite. I'm the minister of this congregation. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly inclusive and brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. As Unitarian Universalists, we are people of a wide path, engaging in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and then coming together to make a difference. I am so glad that you have chosen to be here, whether it is here in this space or joining us virtually. Each month, we join with hundreds of UU congregations who follow the Soul Matters monthly themes. Throughout the month of January, we are exploring the topic of finding our today our often mistaken identity as Unitarian Universalists. When we know who we are, then we can find our common center. I hope this will be fun for you. It's always fun for me. For those of you gathered in the chapel, I invite you to put your phones on airplane mode so that you and all may be fully present and free from distraction, as well as freeing up some web bandwidth so our live streaming friends are able to enjoy the service without disruption. Our Sunday morning services are carefully crafted to call us into a deeper exploration of our lives, and perchance to find and follow that inner light that each of us possesses. The flow of the service follows the path of the labyrinth, and I am your guide as we enter the labyrinth of ideas and emotions, bringing our whole selves to the inward journey. Once we have reached the center of the labyrinth, we will engage with those ideas and maybe even our emotions, opening hearts and minds to that which awaits us. And finally, just as in any labyrinth, you can't stay in the center. There's only one way in and it's the same way out. And so we will retrace our steps, emerging from the journey that we have been on, possibly changed, maybe refreshed, renewed, or perhaps even challenged, troubled, or dismayed. Those are all good options. The journey is yours to make in the company of fellow seekers. And so we begin. Entering the labyrinth of this worship service, we gather, creating the sacred container for mystery and wonder in our lives. We lift up that which is of ultimate importance to us. And we begin by drawing the gathered community into a circle of love and trust. We are a beloved community, or at least we strive to be. We are at least a gathering, maybe not of like-minded souls, not like-minded minds, but curious and seeking and wondering and hoping and trusting. And all of that needs a strong container. We need to know that we can trust one another, that we can trust ourselves. And so we create that by naming ourselves as a beloved community, something that we aspire to. And to that end, we share a congregational covenant, a promise that we have made that establishes that love and trust and that understanding of who are we when we come together and sit in this room, or who are we when we gather virtually and participate in the service that way. And so I invite you, whether today is your first time or you have been a long timer and UU Amherst is already your home, I invite you to share our congregational covenant. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. So I'm going to invite you to sing with me our song of intention. And I'm so happy that we have sort of equal numbers here in the space, so that nobody is like the solo doing their part. So this song is in two parts. You'll see them on the screen. The mystery part is its own part, and the where do we come from is its own part. And so you will keep singing your part. Okay, so we won't try to swap. All kinds of chaos would happen there that I'm not ready for this morning. Let's get this side. I've already pointed to you with mystery, so I don't want to mess you up by changing the rules. So you don't have to sing yet. I'm going to sing each part so that then you know how it goes. So your part will go like this. Don't sing yet. You don't have to read my mind. And it's mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. You'll notice it has a whole bunch of one note. That is not any sort of projection on your musical abilities. It's just how the part goes. Okay, so listen to it one more time. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Now sing it with me. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. See, you're pros. So you all on this side will be singing all the other words. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Try it with me. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Fabulous. So, Ellen, would you mind helping this group? So we're going to start with the mystery, and then I'll abandon you for just like a word, and I'll come back. because Alan's going to take over here. So let's start with you. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, hang on, you're about to. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. One more time. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. And you'll notice that the notes don't even sound like it ends. It's like,
Because we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. Y'all were great. Thank you for that. Excellent. So, Mickey, I will invite you to come up. As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on land that was nurtured and cherished by the First Nations people of this region, the Haudenosaunee, and the people before them who were known as the Neutrals. We offer this libation as our giveaway, a symbol of our respect for and deep connection with this land. May we be good stewards of the land and courageously cultivate community with all living beings. It is also our custom when we gather to light a chalice, the symbol of our faith, that represents the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. As Mickey lights the flame, I offer these words. We gather around this flame that symbolizes the truth we know and the truth we seek, the community we share and the community we aspire to, the learning that enables us and the mystery that encompasses. Here we speak the languages of memory and hope. Here we are welcomed, our journeys embraced and shared. Each of us carries with us into this time cares and concerns, joys and sorrows. Together, we have created that container where we can put down our burdens, knowing that they are tenderly held. For those joining virtually, I invite you to write in the chat the things that are on your heart. For those here in the chapel, I invite you to come forward and to place a stone on the table labyrinth up front in honor of all that you bring with you today. Come forward as you will. Let's share a few breaths as we expand our circle to include those who may not be present, but whom we carry in our hearts. Those who are ill, those who are in pain, either in body or in spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. We are part of a web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, and to care. May it ever be so in our lives. And blessed be, blessed be. All the moving pieces, all the moving pieces. Okay. So our Time for All Ages comes from the Middle East, and it is one of the Nasruddin stories. Now, Nasruddin appears in many, many stories, and he's kind of a trickster figure. So maybe equal to Loki in the Norse pantheon, or in Native American tales, crow or raven is often the trickster, or coyote, sometimes mouse. Brer rabbit. Please don't throw me into that there bush. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for a more findable kind of example. So this story is entitled Leave Your Name on the Door, and it's part 1 of the Time for All Ages. So Nasruddin, the Haja, is said to have been a real person born in Turkey in the year 1208. Haja means teacher, and Nasruddin was a teacher, wise man, sometimes a judge. He was also all too human, and it is his humanness that inspires much of the humor in his stories. He is said to have died around 1284. That is a remarkable lifespan in the 13th century. And even in death, he makes one laugh and pause to wonder. His grave is marked by a single iron gate. The gate is locked, but there are no walls on either side. That's so Nasruddin. So here's the story. A philosopher, having made an appointment to dispute with Nasruddin, called at the appointed hour and found him away from home. Nasruddin had forgotten their plan and was in the tea house playing table games and telling stories with his friends. The philosopher, with each knock getting more angry. So after waiting a considerable amount of time, the philosopher was completely out of his mind with anger. So he picked up a piece of chalk and he wrote, "Stupid oaf," on Nasruddin's door. And then he left in a huff. Now, as soon as Nasruddin got home and saw this, he rushed to the philosopher's house. "I had completely forgotten our appointment," he said. "I apologize for not being home. Of course, I remembered the appointment as soon as I saw that you had left your name on the door." The way we treat others will ultimately tell about who we are. So I wonder, what names do we leave on doors? Sometimes in words spoken hastily, anger that brewed up. In this story, a person's wounded ego caused him to behave in a mean way. We wouldn't do that, though, because we're pretty enlightened. So that's just a story you can share with other people who aren't quite as cool. No, we do this all the time. We don't realize that we're leaving our calling card, leaving our name. So, leaving our name, something about a name. Names are important. Names say things about who we are, if they're names we've chosen. Some names are given to us. Some names are chosen. And then there are the names we don't mean to leave, like stupid oaf. So I want to share with you, I get a lot of mail here at church. And sometimes I put them in file folders. I need one more surface. Okay. So I got a very nice card from somebody in Albany, New York. It had no message, but it was an invitation to be saved from Armageddon. Take 7 minutes to find out how I escaped the judgment that is coming soon. Oh, but the person didn't leave an address, so I wasn't able to find out what happens in 7 minutes. So when various self-help groups used to meet in our space before the pandemic, and occasionally after they had been here, I would find tracts stuck in hymnals, sticking up, people concerned about our souls, because, what's a Unitarian Universalist? We don't know. The world doesn't know who we are. We are ridiculously small in numbers, which means we have to shout extra loud. But I could find real joy or permanent peace, and they come with verses. It's very helpful to know where to look. Here's someone named Cheryl in Georgia sent me a personal note. How did they get my address? I mean, it's not like just written to minister, but to Reverend Michelle Buhite, New Church of Amherst. And then she shares her story and a lot of helpful verses to tell me what to believe. And you know what? I used to be that person. I would, in high school, the lockers had those little vent things. Just slip a tract in there. Just spreading the word, helping people not have to face Armageddon. And I think that the helpful folks who would leave these in our hymnals just didn't understand who we are. Or maybe they did understand who we are and they were still concerned about our souls. But we have a hard time articulating who we are. We have a hard time figuring out what name to put on the door. Well, I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and I have 7 principles that I can remember 2 of, and I see you, you're my people. And sometimes it's just really hard to explain to people what we believe, and sometimes belief is the wrong word. What we value might be a word that resonates more with us. So what we're going to be talking about in the service, in the sermon part, is our identity crisis. Ooh, that sounds very alarming. So my mentor in seminary, who I quote all the time because he was my mentor, and I really appreciate much of what he said, David Bumbaugh, wrote up a belief statement, a potential belief statement that might encompass what Unitarian Universalists believe. It includes values, but it has sort of belief statements. I have about a dozen copies here. I'm not going to read you the whole thing because I have a sermon to do. I'm just going to read you the first snippet so that you can kind of get a sense of the language. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes because you might get images then. Close them. I'm watching you. Mine are still open. We believe that the universe in which we live and move and have our being is the expression of an inexorable process that began in eons past, ages beyond our comprehension, and has evolved from singularity to multiplicity, from simplicity to complexity, from disorder to order. You can open your eyes again, no sleeping, the sermon's about to start. So aside from a lot of big words, which you use, we love big words, there's a lot of space in his statement. Kind of, I don't know, I get sort of like the Milky Way going on in my head when I read his statement. So like I said, I have about a dozen copies here. I can make more. I will attempt to remember to take this folder with me when I go to stand by the door. Otherwise, someone can help me to know that it's under the water. Not like underwater, but under the water. Oopsie. So we have entered the labyrinth, kind of slowly, thoughtfully, chalice, water, story, a little singing. We're getting closer, and now we have gathered in the center of the labyrinth. We begin the journey. At the center of the labyrinth, we engage ideas and emotions. I have shocking news. Unitarian Universalists across the nation and within these four walls are experiencing a full-blown identity crisis. Now, if you look around, you'll see many folks on many spiritual paths. Self-avowed humanists, neo-pagans, Christians, Buddhists, Panentheists, Agnostics, Atheists. See me later if any of these words are like, what was that? Panentheists? What is that? The list that I just gave is in no way exhaustive because we are creative people and we like to link things together. But what about Unitarian Universalism? It kind of gets lost in all that hubbub. And so I wonder, is Unitarian Universalism a spiritual path? Like those other things I named, Buddhism, Christianity, paganism, panentheism? Or is it, as some sociologists say, an enlightened scientific democratic syndrome of values? I don't want to be a syndrome. That sounds like something you catch. Well, according to Richard Wayne Lee's article in the winter 1995 Sociology of Religion magazine, what we are is a cult. Whoa there. A cult? I've seen cults, and they're not us. So what do you think of when I say a cult? Do you think of brainwashed members? Troubled and possibly crazy and gullible people? Do you envision the mass suicides of Jim Jones and his Jonestown followers? Or do you think maybe of David Koresh and the Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas? I have a guilty pleasure. I really enjoy watching documentaries about cults. And so whenever you find out about one of those documentaries, let me know, because I'm fascinated. And partly because being, I would say, is a first year, we can talk about that. So we're nothing like it. Well, first of all, we need Larry straight. Now this teeny tiny, it gives you It gives you something to do, but just listen, listen. What I just described to you were not cults at all, but rather sects, S-E-C-T-S, which I am saying very carefully. According to Lee, a sect is a highly solidary, ideologically homogeneous religious group dedicated to a clearly specified doctrine. It generally forms as a breakaway from a church or a denomination, protesting the parent body's perceived compromise with the highly imperfect world. The sect insists that it possesses the truth, rejecting all other religious groups as illegitimate. End of quote. In addition to Jonestown and the Branch Davidians, other contemporary examples include Christian holiness groups, as well as the Unification Church, also known as the Moonies. I always thought that those folks that blindly followed a charismatic leader were in a cult. In fact, when my own friends expressed horror at my involvement in Unitarian Universalism as being a cult, I looked at their growing megachurch and their blind allegiance to their minister, and I thought, speak for yourselves. We don't follow anyone. It's a good thing, and it's a challenging thing as a leader. But anyways, side note aside, we UUs don't follow. We cannot possibly be a cult. I felt very righteous. So I will be ordering a side salad with my serving of crow because according to Lee's article, Unitarian Universalism is most decidedly a cult. So look around. This is what a cult looks like. Cult, cult, cult. Does it make you nervous? Every time I say the word, it's like, oh, ow. For years, I taught my communication students at Jamestown Community College about the power of loaded language. And with my evangelical Christian upbringing, it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies that now I'm in a cult. I thought I got over that when I left Bob Jones. But apparently those were my sect days, just the warm-up act for being in a cult. So before you tune me out or stand up and throw hymnals at me or just walk out the door, let me share with you Lee's definition of a cult and his observations that lead to this classification. More tiny writing for those who like to read slides. He says, and this is what's on the slide, so you can just listen, the cult is a group composed of radically individualistic religious seekers. Consequently, it is loosely organized, and its belief system is sufficiently minimal and or generalized to permit a high degree of ideological heterogeneity. That means lots of choices. The cult emerges as a new religious system. Its innovation, however, mainly consists in eclectically combining beliefs and practices appropriated from various domestic and foreign sources. The cult does not insist that it possesses the truth. It upholds the religious authority of the individual and is relatively pluralistic. We affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We are often, this is a sideline, we are often correctly accused of being syncretists. More big words. This is vocabulary day. So syncretism is where you look at the wide buffet of religious possibilities and you pick and choose. Go for the goodies. And we do that. But sometimes we don't necessarily choose things deeply. We choose them sort of on the surface. So when I went to SUNY Binghamton, right at the bottom of campus, there was this fabulous restaurant, Coco's. And in the middle of the restaurant, it had this carousel horse. and this salad bar. And on this salad bar, there were jelly beans, there was chocolate, along with, vegetables and fruits. But what a fantastic, so, my salad plate resembled an Easter basket, not anything healthy, because I picked and I chose. So I'm going to ask a question. How many of you engage in some form of meditation? Great, thank you. How many of you do or have done yoga? Excellent. I guess we'll just go with those two. So those are practices that come out of other religious traditions. I just think that's interesting. And so it's sort of that picking and choosing. Oh, well, I do yoga, but I'm not really a Hindu. And so it doesn't mean we have to stop doing the things. We're allowed to have the jelly beans. It's okay. We just need to have something healthy to go along with them. So don't feel bad about your syncretistic ways. Syncretistic is syncretist and fantastic, smushed into one. Okay, so back to the research. According to sociologist Emil Durkheim, Unitarian Universalism becomes a cult of the individual. We affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Ooh, we do. We tend toward individualism. And sometimes I say, as part of our intro to the service, bring your individuality, bring all that stuff that's great about you, but you can leave your individualism in the car. It'll still be there. Individualism says it's my way or the highway. No, we're a beloved community. So bring your individuality, your creativity, and all the things that make you great. And that sort of hard-nosed, nope, I will not. Yeah, just leave it in the car. Lock it in the trunk. Maybe forget about it for a little while. So in 1951, Durkheim's book, he writes, and the book's name's Suicide. I didn't give him the title, he did it. Since human personality is the only thing that appeals unanimously to all hearts, it rises far above all human aims, assuming a religious nature. We are hardwired to want to take care of ourselves, and that is called survival, and so that's a good thing. You don't need to set that aside. But we are hardwired for that, and that's how we get to the point where individualism kind of takes the forefront. So we, individualistic religious seekers, affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We affirm a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Sometimes we forget the responsible part. We just like, woohoo, I'm exploring everything. These are just two of the principles that for many define our faith. One of our members, I just had an email exchange, and he was like, we really only need one principle because all the rest kind of hook into that, and it's our first, affirming worth and dignity of every, all the other tutorial around that. Interesting email exchange, and I was like, thank you for that point. Like, thank you for that point of view. Huh? That point of view. Huh? Huh? So these principles, if you're wondering, well, oh, she keeps talking about principles. You can find them in the Gray Hymnal just before the very first song. There's pages and pages of stuff. And then just before hymn number 1, there's the pages that have our principles and our sources. So our sources, these are the places where we engage with spiritual ideas. So our sources include our direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Basically, that's your experience of, oh, when I go for a walk in the woods, I feel at one with everything. Good. That's your direct experience. You had an experience. Sunsets, Milky Way, those kind of newborn child, holding someone's hand as they die, those are direct experience things. So that's our first source. That's that individual thing cropping up again, right? Our first source is trusting what we experience. Good. Second source, words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. That's our love for social justice. That's us going out to change the world, make it better. The third is wisdom from the world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. That's our yoga, that's our meditation, that's reading Nasruddin. It's all of those things that we are able to glean from other world religions. Our fourth source is Jewish and Christian teachings which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. Love, it's at the base, it's everything. Humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of the mind and the spirit. And finally, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. So those, quickly, are our current 6 sources. So a really awesome thing about Unitarian Universalism is that it's a living tradition. And so I'd say that they are currently our 6 sources, but who knows? Sources 7, 8, and 9 might be just percolating amongst us and will emerge, having gone into the labyrinth, swirled around a bit, and emerged changed. Who knows? I don't know of any change to the sources right now, but it could happen. So just to remind you what Lee said in his definition of a cult, the cult emerges as a new religious system. Its innovation, however, mainly consists in eclectically combining beliefs and practices appropriated from various domestic and foreign sources. That's us. Lee would say that although we are officially creedless, we have an implicit creed of the paramount value of the person. Yes. He says that Unitarian Universalists uphold with uncanny fidelity the central principles of Durkheim's cult of the individual. So sociologists are not the only ones who consider Unitarian Universalism a cult, although they are notably more generous in their opinion of us than some of our other religious friends. So I have a little book published about the same time that Durkheim was writing about the cult of the individual, and that book is Walter R. Martin's The Cult, the Christian and the Cults, How to Deal with Cults. It was published in 1956. This book arms the Christian soldier with the sword of truth and the breastplate of righteousness. So let me just give you a little excerpt. Yeah. The Unitarian Church, or cult as it is properly designated, like to trace their history back to apostolic times, especially to the great Arian heresy condemned at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, or as I say now, CE, Common Era. However, the Unitarians are notoriously poor historians, not to mention their theological shortcomings, and it was not until the 14th and 15th century that the dogmas now designated Unitarian gained any markedly popular support. I will note, because before that, people got burned at the stake, so of course it's underground, but I digress. Oh, where should we go? Here we are. Of a certainty, some poorly informed thinkers in the early church may have adhered to some of the principles now claimed by Unitarians, but none of the leading theologians ever held Unitarian teachings. It just sounds so smug, doesn't it? Of course, it helps that that's the way I'm reading it, but it's true. The quote goes on and on and on. So, before you get all tall and, I don't know, berate me for using examples written over half a century ago, for those of us of a certain age, yes, it was 1956 was over a half a century ago. I would like to tell you, as a once insider, those are exactly the sources that our accusers are using. They're timeless. So, and I went on Amazon, and you really can buy a copy of that book now for $4.69, which, just in case you're interested. So, yes, Unitarian Universalism is different from Orthodox Christianity. Surprise! We're not surprised. But is Unitarian Universalism really a cult? Who gets to decide these things? Is it like history, which is written by the winners? What if, using Lee's definitions, Unitarian Universalism is the parent religion of tolerance, and all those other religions are the breakaway sects, S-E-C-T-S, protesting the parent body's perceived compromise with a highly imperfect world? I think I choose to believe that. We were here first. All the rest of you, latecomers, making stuff up. I don't know. It's just another perspective. So is this just a cosmic case of potato, potato? Should we just call the whole thing off? I don't think so. Ultimately, the issue of identity crisis remains, and it reaches far beyond our personal journeys of what we do and do not believe. Unitarian Universalists tend to have a clear sense of who we are not, but our sense of who we are is a bit fuzzy. So I believe that it is our movement-wide identity crisis that is holding us back and keeping us small. So according to Lee, Unitarian Universalism's implicit creed of the paramount value of the individual accommodates the seekers of Unitarian Universalism, but it also results in an ill-defined identity and indistinct boundaries. That's where some of the pushback came when David Bumbaugh presented his belief statement to our two major seminaries, and it was like, not the boss of me what that, yeah, you know, wasn't anything that you probably know. Talked about it before. Memory, who knows? Like, so this Lee states that the problem is that radically individualistic seekers are far more interested in what the religious community can do for them than what they can do for the community. This creates a problem of commitment. We are the second highest income earners among North American religious groups, but we rank lowest in our giving to our churches. Wow. So another, and for me even more grim testament to our lack of commitment is the statistic that 95% of those raised UU eventually disaffiliate. They don't stay. Only 5% stay. That's a question of programming and community building and all that. How do we change that? So Unitarian Universalism tends to be a bit vague and is often seen as an umbrella religion, holding not only the humanist thought that is fairly recently traditional to UU, but also mystical paths that value individual experience and worth. I don't know. Does the umbrella image really capture who we are? I belong to an umbrella? Is that better than belonging to a cult? I don't know. We need to overcome this identity crisis. But how can we get past that individualism and our differences, including our spiritual differences, to create vital, beloved community, which, spoiler alert, is only viable when there is a lot of diversity of thought. Oops, okay. That was spoiler. Could go to the end, say amen and be done. But I have more words. So again, borrowing from my experience as a teacher of communication, we need to recognize and honor the differences. America used to be called the melting pot, where immigrants came and were absorbed into the larger American culture, but they weren't, were they? That's how we ended up with Little Italy, Chinatown, Little Puerto Rico. So now communication theorists more often describe America as a salad bowl. Many unique flavors that, when combined, create a tasty, zesty new dish. So let's borrow that image of the salad bowl to describe Unitarian Universalism. If you skipped breakfast, you might be getting hungry now. Now, you may think that being a salad bowl is not that great of a leap from being an umbrella. But I argue that there is a big difference. An umbrella offers a nice, warm, and dry place to stay until it stops raining. And then when the sun comes out, metaphorically and literally, those under the umbrella part ways and continue down their separate paths. 95%. We have been enlarged momentarily. We all gathered underneath the umbrella. Thank goodness for the umbrella. And then you don't need the umbrella anymore. Well, off to other things. The salad bowl image takes many unique flavors and puts them together to create something new and better. And all are changed by this association. Nutritionally, we are more complete with the other's contributions. My vitamin B-rich dark leafy greens are enhanced by your beta-carotene-infused carrots and red peppers, and your antioxidant-rich zesty onions and garlic, and your lycopene-carrying cherry tomatoes. Are you feeling a little nutty? Well, we can use your protein and essential fatty acids in the mix, and when we're all assembled and working together, we're delicious and beneficial. A salad bowl has room for many colors, elements, and flavors, and with each addition, it is changed and it is enlarged. So our identity crisis is changed only when we are able to combine our many understandings and worldviews and see how they help us to create beloved community. We commit to staying in the conversation with one another. So extending our salad bowl metaphor just a little longer, even we can agree to stay at the dinner table together. Even when we can't see how black olives and jalapenos can possibly work together, well, they can, when you have all the flavors right. We overcome our identity crisis when we're able to see how our differences help us to become committed Unitarian Universalists. We not only cherish our individual worth, but honor the worth and dignity of each individual. We commit to our own and each other's spiritual growth. We work to create a beloved community where we are supported and where we, in turn, support others. So the question remains, are we a cult? Are we a sect? Are we an Enlightenment scientific democratic syndrome of values? Who knows? What we do know is that we're Unitarian Universalists. And we believe that through principled living and caring and doing, we can change ourselves and we can change the world.
Universalist, walk through the door, just gives my heart a beat.
little UUs, Unitarian Universalist. It's how we teach our kids what we are, our littlest. We won't make you do this. So we have, I hope, engaged hearts and minds and intentions, and we emerge and return, we are renewed. And so, as our service is drawing to an end, it means our service to the world is just beginning. Let me tell you about some of the opportunities to connect and serve in the days to come. Coming up in February on the 11th, there is a cocktail hour. Sounds like fun. You will find more information and the opportunity to purchase tickets in the Emerson room when you go for coffee. Next week, there will be activities for children and youth. Yay! Today, there is a newcomer table during the coffee hour in the Emerson room. It's way off to the left corner where the piano is, and Jackie Senders will be there with a welcoming smile. So if you are a newcomer or a recent comer or just want to sit and talk to Jackie, head to that table. And, as always, if you would like to participate in a very tangible way in our ministries, your financial contributions are welcome. Because we pick fruit from trees we did not plant. We drink water from wells we did not dig. And this is as it should be, so long as we dig and plant for those who will come after us. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing blessing, and then remain standing as we extinguish the chalice. Travel ye, see once again, travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. May the road rise up to greet you as you leave your past behind. I will think about you gently, and I'll hold you in my mind. Now sing to each other. Travel light and travel easy, till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. Mickey, would you do the honors? Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace.